All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most critical decisions any organization has to make today: choosing the right data and AI architecture. I mean, with all the options and buzzwords flying around, it can seriously feel like you're trying to navigate a maze. So, in this explainer, we're going to give you the map to find your way through. So, this is the big question, isn't it? You've got the data warehouse, the data mesh, and a whole world of specialized platforms in between. Which one is going to be the engine for your AI strategy? The choice can feel pretty paralyzing. I get it. But getting it right is the foundation for absolutely everything that comes next. Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll jump into the architecture maze just to understand the landscape. Then, we'll simplify things with three foundational choices. From there, we'll look at the specific architectures for modern AI, and then how to connect a complex world if you're in a big organization. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a framework for making the right choice. Sound good? Let's go. Okay, let's start right here in the architecture maze, because honestly, that's what the modern data world feels like, just packed with all these competing options. And making sense of this chaos is the crucial first step to building any kind of successful AI strategy. So let's bring some order to that chaos. At the highest level, most data strategies really start with one of three foundational philosophies: the modern data warehouse, the data lakehouse, or the data mesh. And these aren't just technologies, they're fundamentally different ways of thinking about your data. Let's break this down real quick. The data warehouse, that's your classic go-to choice for structured data and traditional business intelligence. The data lakehouse, that's all about trying to unify all your data types, structured, unstructured, you name it, for both BI and AI. And then you have the data mesh, which is a totally different beast. It's a decentralized model really built for huge organizations where different teams own their data like a product. It's a cultural shift just as much as it is a technical one. Okay, let's zoom in on the two most common starting points. The warehouse is proven. It's powerful, especially for all your SQL analytics. But when should you start thinking about a lakehouse? Well, the tipping point is usually when your unstructured data, we're talking text from customer reviews, images, server logs, becomes just as critical to your AI goals as your clean, structured sales data. The lakehouse is designed from the ground up to prevent those data silos. All right, so with those foundations in place, let's move on to the more specialized tools. These are the architectures that are purpose-built for the unique and pretty intense demands of modern AI. Things like real-time decision-making and generative AI. First up, real-time and streaming. This one is all about speed. When you need to make decisions in milliseconds, not hours or days, you need an architecture that processes data the instant it's created. You can think of it like the central nervous system for your operational AI apps. And this slide really gets right to the heart of it. If you're working on something like fraud detection or real-time product recommendations, or any app where a delay literally costs you money or introduces risk, well, a streaming architecture isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely essential. Next, let's talk about the feature store. The best way to think about this is like a professional kitchen's pantry, but for your AI models. It solves this huge, kind of sneaky problem called training serving skew. That's what happens when the data a model was trained on is just slightly different from the data it sees in the real world, which causes it to make bad predictions. A feature store makes sure the ingredients are identical every single time. Now, the upside here is massive. It speeds up model development like crazy and lets you reuse work, which saves your teams a ton of time. The challenge? Well, it is another piece of infrastructure you have to manage, and it does require some discipline. But honestly, adopting a feature store is a key sign that an organization's ML practice is getting really serious. Speaking of getting serious, that brings us to the MLOps platform. You want to know the first sign you need one? It's when your data scientists are spending more time deploying, monitoring, and fixing models than they are actually building them. MLOps takes that chaotic, manual process and turns it into a reliable, repeatable, and scalable AI factory. So here's the crucial point. You adopt an MLOps platform when your AI initiatives get serious, when you have multiple models actually serving customers, when you need audit trails for compliance, and when you just can't afford for the process to be manual and full of errors anymore. And now, let's talk about the new superstar on the block, the vector database. This is the engine behind most of the generative AI stuff you're seeing. It lets you search for data based on its meaning, not just keywords. So for example, a search for summer clothes could pull up results for shorts and t-shirts. This is the magic behind RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, which is how you make chatbots smart about your own company's private data. Let me be super clear on this one. If you are building applications with large language models, you need a vector database. It's not optional. It is the essential component for enabling that semantic search, for powering RAG, and for unlocking the value in all of your unstructured text and image data. Period. Okay, so we've covered the foundational stuff and the AI-specific architectures. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at strategies that are designed to manage the immense scale and complexity you find in a large distributed company. So here we have two kind of competing philosophies for dealing with enterprise scale. A data fabric is like this intelligent virtual layer that connects all your data without actually moving it. Think of it as a smart, unified catalog for everything. A composable stack is pretty much the opposite. It's a best-of-breed approach. It's like building a custom hi-fi system by picking the absolute best components from different brands and wiring them together yourself for ultimate performance and flexibility. But what if you can't move your data at all, for any reason? That's where federated learning comes into play. It's a really groundbreaking approach where you train a central model by sending the model out to where the data lives instead of bringing all that sensitive data to one central location. For privacy, this is a total game changer. And this is absolutely critical for certain industries. If you're in healthcare, finance, or any field where data residency rules and privacy are just non-negotiable, federated learning is often the only way you can build powerful ML models while staying compliant. Whew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from the foundations to all these specialized tools. So, how do you actually make a decision? In this last section, we're going to walk through a practical framework to help you choose the right path for your organization. Here is your 6-step plan. First, assess your current state and be brutally honest about your data landscape and your technical debt. Second, define your target use cases with extreme clarity. From there, start focused. Pick 1 or 2 approaches and build incrementally. Please avoid a big bang implementation at all costs. And finally, remember that no architecture, no matter how cool, will succeed if you don't invest in governance and in the skills of your team. And you've got to remember, it's rarely about picking just one thing. In the real world, the most successful companies create hybrid architectures. A lakehouse is often the core, supported by a feature store and MLOps. A traditional warehouse can get a huge boost from a vector DB for Gen AI. The key is to combine these patterns to meet your specific needs. So, as you make your choice, ground it in these realities. How mature is your data practice today? Is your company culture collaborative or is it siloed? What are the main business problems you're trying to solve? And of course, what's your budget and what are your compliance constraints? The technology has to serve the business, not the other way around. And that leads us to our final critical question. I want you to take a hard look at your current systems and ask yourself this. Is your technology a flexible tool that enables you to achieve your strategic goals, or has it become a rigid constraint that dictates what you can and cannot do? The right architecture empowers your ambition. The wrong one limits it. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.